Have you ever, stopped and wondered if maybe the big global organizations, the ones we hear about all the time, might have a deeper agenda, something hidden?
It's a thought-provoking question, definitely.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into a perspective that suggests exactly that. It's pretty fascinating, maybe even a bit provocative.
Okay.
Our source is this text, the Supra-National Penitentiary, the arms of the game. And it paints this really striking picture of how global power might actually work behind the scenes, like a hidden web.
Right, a complex system?
Now, before we jump in, just our usual reminder for the deep dive. We're here to explore the ideas in the source you gave us. This one, the Supra-National Penitentiary, has some really strong claims about global power.
It does. It presents a very specific viewpoint.
Exactly. So just to be crystal clear, we're looking at what the source says, its interpretations, its views. We're not saying this is fact. We're just unpacking its narrative about these organizations. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Understanding the claims themselves is the goal here.
Great. Okay, so let's get into it and see what this particular narrative wants us to uncover.
Let's do it.
So the starting point, the basic idea in this source, it really grabbed you. It talks about this big shift away from like old school kings and queens ruling directly.
Overt rule, yeah. A single monarchy, it calls it.
Right, that old model.
Right.
And it says we've moved to something much more subtle, something it calls, frankly, insidious. This new way, the text claims, it creates the illusion of countries being independent, of democracy working, but it's masking something else. So if it's not kings anymore, who is pulling the strings, according to this source?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. The source insists this isn't just some abstract idea. It's an active, ongoing thing.
Okay.
The core idea is this systematic transfer, basically moving all the real power to a network of these supranational groups, bodies that nobody elected.
Right, like international organizations.
Exactly. And the source is blunt. It says these aren't just places for countries to cooperate. Not really. They are the specialized corporate arms of the game.
The game.
Yes, the game. That's the term for this global government that the source says is effectively hidden in plain sight.
Wow. Hidden in plain sight. That's quite a phrase. And it has specific names for the players, too, right? This terminology it uses.
It does. It's very evocative. The ones supposedly running the show, the decision makers, they're called the Oak Club. They're the players.
The Oak Club? Okay. And the rest of us.
Well, according to this source, humanity. We're just pawns in the pen.
Pawns in the pen. It's like something out of a play, almost. Very stark imagery. It forces you to look at the world in a really specific, maybe unsettling way.
It absolutely does. The language itself paints this picture, doesn't it? Like a huge orchestrated game where most people have no idea what's really going on.
Yeah. The Oak Club sounds so strategic, maybe even cold, and pawns in the pen that suggests we're just stuck, managed.
It's exactly. Limited agency. And that whole framing, it's crucial for understanding how the source then assigns roles to specific well-known organizations.
Right. And it does get specific. This is where, like you said, it gets really interesting. The source identifies the core structure, this architecture of control. It points to 5 big supranational organizations, and it claims they form a 5-pointed star pentagram of modern control.
Yeah, the pentagram imagery is powerful.
It is. It's not just, here are 5 powerful groups. It's saying they're deliberately interlinked. A structure. What does that imply about their power together?
Well, the source calls them an interlocking directorate of the global penitentiary.
Interlocking directorate. Okay, so not working alone.
Not at all. They're parts of one system. And here's the kicker. The source claims these 5 operate without a king, without a flag, without a constitution. But, it asserts, they hold absolute power over the lives of every pawn on Earth.
Absolute power. With no formal government structure like we'd recognize. That completely flips the script on where power is supposed to lie. Accountability, governance.
It challenges all of that. It suggests power is consolidated, but hidden, networked.
Okay, so this system, this pentagram, where does the source start peeling back the layers? Which is the first arm, the first point of the star.
It starts with the United Nations. And the label it gives it is quite something. The stage.
The stage. Okay, that's vivid. Most people think of the UN as, diplomacy, trying to keep the peace. What's its real role in this game, according to the source?
Well, from this perspective, the UN is the grand theater of the game. Its main job isn't real governance, but providing the illusion of it, the illusion of international law, of consensus.
Like a show.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The source calls it a pantomime of global governance, suggesting the public stuff is just for show, while the real purpose is managing how things look.
A pantomime. Wow. That phrase really sticks. And this interpretation goes right down to the UN logo itself, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The source sees that logo, the world map, which it calls the pen, inside the laurel wreath as a kind of hidden confession.
A confession. How so?
It claims the wreath isn't about peace. It's a horseshoe of containment. And it symbolizes the elite's victory. It's reading a message of control right into the symbol.
Containment and victory.
Okay. And it gets even more direct. The source says the UN's purpose isn't actually preventing war. It's about managing the conflicts within the game on this global stage.
Managing conflict, not stopping it. So controlled chaos, maybe?
That seems to be the implication, yes. Keeping the game going under control.
Okay, so the UN is the stage. Where does the source take us next? If that's the illusion, what about the enforcement?
That brings us to NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The source calls it the sword.
The sword. Makes sense. The military arm.
Exactly. It's described as the primary military arm of the Okies Club. And it even throws in this historical comparison, calling NATO the modern incarnation of the Knights Templar.
The Knights Templar. Wow, okay. That connects it to all sorts of ideas about secret power, hidden agendas.
Precisely, suggesting a similar kind of underlying controlling influence today.
And this idea about operating under the lore of the crown, that really hits hard against the idea that member nations are in charge, doesn't it? Like NATO answers to something else entirely.
That's exactly the claim. A different chain of command, a deeper allegiance, and again, the symbolism is key for the source.
The NATO symbol, the star.
Yeah, that four-pointed star. The source sees it as more than just a design. It calls it a cipher for the axis mundi.
Axis mundi, like the world axis.
Right. Interpreted here as symbolizing control over the North Pole, the center of the realm. So NATO becomes the gate police, enforcing the will of the players.
Gate police. Whoa.
And critically, operating under this lore of the crown, not, the laws of the countries actually in NATO. It's a radical reinterpretation.
Definitely. Okay, so we have the stage, UN, and the sword, NATO. What's the third arm?
The third one is labeled the poison. This refers to the World Health Organization, the WHO.
The poison. That's incredibly stark for a health organization.
It is. The source describes the WHO as the bureaucratic arm of the elite's pharma operation. Its job, managing the health of the zoo.
The zoo, meaning us, humanity.
That appears to be the implication, yes. It's dehumanizing language, fitting the pawns in the pen idea.
This sounds like it involves some serious symbolic interpretation again.
Very much so. The source makes a big deal about the symbol associated with medicine. It claims the WHO secretly operates under the authority of the caduceus.
The staff with two snakes.
Yes, which the source links to Hermes, the trickster god. It contrasts this sharply with the rod of Asclepius, one snake, which it calls the symbol of true healing.
So trickery versus healing, that's the symbolic message the source sees.
Exactly, implying manipulation, false promises, not real health. And even the name WHO, the source reads that as a cipher for surveillance.
Surveillance?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so if it's a pharma operation focused on trickery and surveillance, what does the source claim it actually does?
Well, according to this view, it uses manufactured health crises.
Manufactured?
That's the claim. Uses these crises to push global mandates, restrict travel, and promote the profane chemical solutions of pharma.
Profane solutions, meaning?
Pharmaceuticals, vaccines, treatments pushed by large companies framed here as harmful or unnecessary. The alleged goal, to create managed imbalance and dependency in people.
Managed imbalance.
Yeah.
Like keeping people perpetually unwell or needing something.
That's the idea presented. Deliberate control through health, or rather, the management of health. It's a deeply cynical take on global health initiatives.
It really is. Okay, that's number 3. The fourth arm in this pentagram is the WEF, the script.
Correct. The World Economic Forum, the source calls it the Public-Facing Strategic Planning Committee for the OK Club.
Public-facing.
Oh.
So more visible.
More visible, yes. And it draws a parallel to the Club of Rome, another group often mentioned in these kinds of narratives about, behind-the-scenes planning.
Okay, so if the others handle illusion, force, and health, what kind of script is the WAF writing, according to this source?
Its purpose is laid out clearly. Write and broadcast the script for the next phase of the game. Simple as that.
The next phase. And it mentions the Great Reset.
It does. It claims the WF co-opted that term, which it calls sacred, for its own project. A project described as profane, technological, and social engineering.
Co-opted.
Yeah.
Implying they took a potentially positive idea and twisted it.
That's the assertion, using the language to mask a potentially darker agenda of control.
And what are these trial balloons it talks about, these ideas the WAF puts out there?
Ah, yes. The source says the WAF is the one that floats the trial balloons. Things like, smart cities, digital IDs, the fourth industrial revolution.
Ideas we hear about quite a lot.
Exactly. And according to this perspective, these aren't just ideas about progress. They're designed to prepare pawns for the next level of their digital penitentiary.
A digital prison. So getting people used to more tech control, more surveillance, step by step.
That's the picture it paints. Conditioning the population to accept these changes, paving the way for total digital confinement, as the source sees it.
That's a very planned, very deliberate vision of how the future is being shaped. Okay, that brings us to the fifth and final arm, the IMF, labeled the chains.
Yes, the International Monetary Fund, often mentioned alongside the World Bank, the source positions it as the financial enforcer of the game.
Financial enforcer. How?
It explicitly calls it the global debt collector for the Rothschilds and their central banking system. Now, that connects to some very long-standing alternative theories about finance and control.
Right, those narratives about powerful banking families.
Exactly. And the source makes a really stark claim about the IMF's role, perhaps the starkest one.
Which is?
It says the IMF does not offer aid, it offers chains.
Wow. Chains, not aid. That's blunt.
Extremely. The source argues the IMF uses debt deliberately to trap nations, essentially, put them in perpetual servitude.
How does that work, according to the text?
By forcing indebted nations to sell off their assets, give up control, surrender their sovereignty, basically bend to the will of the players, it keeps governments, and by extension their people, on their knees, as the source puts it.
So economic leverage as the ultimate control mechanism for nations.
That's the core argument here, yes. Ensuring subservience to this hidden OK club.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap. The source, the Supra-National Penitentiary, presents these five. The UN as the stage, NATO as the sword, WHO as the poison, WF as the script, and the IMF as the chains.
Correct. The 5 points of the pentagram of control.
And the overall claim is that together, these form a kind of shadow world government.
Yeah.
No king, no flag, no constitution, but holding absolute power over the pawns. It's a lot to take in. What does this mean for us, just trying to make sense of the world?
Well, I think a key takeaway the source pushes is that this whole system is supposedly hidden in plain sight. Meaning it fundamentally challenges how we usually understand global politics, the roles of these big organizations. It suggests there's a deeper layer, a hidden system of control we don't normally see or acknowledge.
Right, which leads to that big question.
Exactly. How do you square the public missions of these groups, peace, defense, health, economy, development, with this alternative, really profound narrative of hidden control? It forces you to look critically, doesn't it?
It really does. To question the surface level.
To consider if there might be other motivations, other forces at play.
So we've taken this deep dive into a truly extraordinary account of power, haven't we? Looking at the connections, the symbols, the whole narrative laid out in the Supra-National Penitentiary, the arms of the game. It's detailed and, yeah, definitely controversial.
It does. And connecting it back, to the bigger picture, it encourages us to think about the multiple layers influencing world events.
Yeah, not just taking things at face value.
Right. To question the stories we're told. Maybe consider interpretations that seem pretty far out there at first. Again, just be clear, we're exploring the source's ideas, not saying they're true.
Absolutely. Understanding the perspective is the key. But this perspective, it paints a really stark picture, doesn't it? A world managed, not governed, by forces that aren't really accountable in the traditional sense.
It does. It's a challenging vision.
And it leaves you pondering, right? If power really does operate in the shadows, like this source claims, what does that actually mean for things like freedom, for national sovereignty, for our own place within this alleged pen?
Big questions.
Huge questions. It definitely challenges you to look at the world around you with maybe slightly different eyes and to decide for yourself which narratives make sense.